Good evening. This Town of Adams Board of Selectmen meeting Wednesday, January 17th of 2024 is now called to order. If you could all please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right. So the Board of Selectmen does have a public hearing that we did post for 6 p.m. So we are going to go first into a public hearing. This is for compliance regarding a dangerous dog that is located at 12 Phillips Hill. Dog's name is Sully. The owners were notified, as well as the animal control officer and the chief of police. I do need a motion and a vote to go into a public hearing.
Make motion to enter into a public hearing for the purpose of compliance hearing regarding dangerous dog at 12 Phillips.
I have a motion by member Blanchard. Do I have a second? Second by Vice Chair Rosenberg. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote.
Yes.
Yeah. Right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes. For me?
Yes.
Okay, we are in a public hearing. So we did send a notice to Mr. Lionel Vega and Ms. Lachey Canada, notifying them that there would be a compliance hearing this evening to review the orders that were set by the Board of Selectmen and were reviewed at the November 15th, 2023 meeting. This board has reviewed those items at our December 20th meeting, our January 3rd meeting, and at the board's January 3rd meeting, the Board of Selectmen determined the need for an additional compliance hearing today, January 17th at 6 p.m. I don't believe I see Mr. Vega or Miss Canada in the room. Anybody else from 12 Phillips Hill here? Okay. I do see that the chief is here. So typically with our hearing, we would hear from both sides, testimony as to where we are with regard to compliance on the orders. Just as a reminder to the board, the orders that were set by this board was that Mr. Vega and Ms. Canada shall install a standard kennel minimum size of 6 by 8 with a covering secured top and protection on the bottom. The plan for the standard kennel is to be submitted to the Board of Selectmen by November 19th with installation by December 21st. Mr. Vega and Ms. Canada will provide documentation of Sully's enrollment in obedience training, credentials of the trainer, and the trainer's assessment of Sully's progress. This documentation is to be submitted to the Board of Selectmen by November 29th, 2023. Sully is to be neutered, i.e. to be altered so that the dog shall not be reproductively intact. Proof of the appointment for Sully to be neutered shall be submitted to the Board of Selectmen by November 20th, 2023. And that any person having ownership and or control of Sully provide a certificate of insurance of no less than $100,000 coverage for personal injuries that may be caused by Sully to the Board of Selectmen by November 29th. The Board of Selectmen chief did receive some of these files. We did review them, or they were distributed at our December 20th meeting. So the board has had them in their review, and at our January 3rd meeting as well. So at this point, if you would like to provide any further testimony as to where Mr. Vega and Ms. Canada are with regard to compliance on these matters, please come forward and do so.
So, as you had already stated, albeit late, pretty much all of it, last month, proof of insurance, proof of training, Sully had started the training in the kennel. Not only sent pictures, but I went by and observed the kennel myself, and they are, the only thing they hadn't done when I went by was put in the floor, which at this point, they probably laid the cement bottom. It was, I believe, 12 by 6.
Mhm.
So it was decent size for what the board had asked. Just somewhere, if he went outside, he would be in a kennel. Yesterday, I received, which I believe you have also, a date in February for Sully to be neutered. Once again, all of these were late but complied by the owners. That's really at this point what we have. It is my opinion, and you know, if the board would take my opinion, it never was the idea that we wanted to euthanize this animal. We were in support of, most other things besides that. It's my opinion that they have at least put in the effort to get these things done. This is well documented, case file, and I would be willing, with the understanding of the board, that they keep the dog. If there's any more incidents, it would make it that much easier for us if we needed to move forward with charges, euthanization. I can't be positive on this, but I think maybe the slow procedures with the owner of Solar is because of financial reasons. So, I don't have an issue with the animal staying with the owners, and there is consistent, touching base with these owners. And obviously, like I said, if anything happens in the future, it's well documented, and this process can, quite frankly, go a lot quicker. But that is my opinion. That's what I have for the Board of Selectmen. So, and I will answer any questions if you have, and if I can.
Does the board have any questions for the chief?
Yes, I just have one question. You were saying that Sully's date for being castrated, neutered, is today. You spoke to them, and Berkshire Veterinarian Hospital is going to do it in February. Did they have anything in writing to show you?
You should have it.
Okay, I have
And
the
about
date right here.
midway down the page, you will see
February.
a castration date,
Yeah.
and it's a February date.
Yeah, 2/23/24.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I did see that, but I was just wondering if you had any writing that that is going to take place,
All
or
we-
they could just
All,
say,
all we can do, sir, is they have the date, and then we can follow up immediately
Okay.
afterwards to make sure that the dog did meet the appointment and was neutered per your directive.
okay, that's all that I really had. And I'd like to say that I'm happy that this is coming to be rectified, but I also hope in time that if we have other incidents such as these, that it's completed in a more timely manner. And I agree with you, Chief. I think a lot had to do with their economics situation. And just say I'm happy that this can finally come to a resolution.
Well, let me say this also in front of the board. You know, none of us, I think, except for me, actually has any in-depth experience dealing with this type of thing. Yeah, it took a long time, and in the future, these incidents are going to be handled by not only an animal control officer, but an assigned police officer. A little background where I'm from, all animal control officers are certified police officers. So there is less of a learning curve. They know how to deal with the courts. They don't have to come before a civilian. It is you make a charge and you go before a judge. So this is different. And having a civilian who has never done this before in our ACO, this was learning for everyone. But from here on out, there's going to be a certified police officer assigned to these dog cases also, just so we can move a little bit more fluidly through this, because we have experience in talking to you guys and dealing with the courts. So it will not be this again. So
Other questions for the
Good.
chief? Okay. And I'll just ask again if there's anybody from 12 Phillips Hill. I believe so. So we don't
you.
have anything on the other side. If there are no other questions, we can go ahead and conclude the hearing. I would need a motion to close the public hearing. And then we would,
Move.
thank you. And a second? And just so that we're all following along, when we do come out of public hearing, then we would deliberate and take any votes or actions there too. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Yes.
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 And so we are out of public hearings. At this time, does the board wish to take any further action on this case? But I don't believe that. Is there anyone?
I'll make a motion that the board send a letter to Mr. Vega and Miss Canada,
Mhm.
advising them that we would like proof that the neutering has taken place, and from there, it'll be done. I don't think we need another meeting.
So a motion to send a letter asking for a veterinary
Yeah,
report
proof when,
after the February 23rd date. Okay. I have a motion by member Blanchard. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
What is the procedure for closing out the case after he submits the proof of neutering? There's not.
I think there's nothing. This is closed. Yeah,
It's done.
Unless there's no compliance
right.
with the 23rd.
And then
And then it would be a public hearing to determine any actions we would have to take.
The end of the road, just so everybody knows, the end of the road is a criminal complaint. So if the board isn't happy with compliance, then the actions get turned into a complaint with the local district court. And then it becomes a judicial matter which has to be prosecuted and exposes the individuals to potential criminal penalties. So that's the end of this, and it's in the hands of the adjudicatory body at district court. But as long as there's compliance, then that doesn't happen. But that's how, at the end of the day, the big stick comes out is with
yeah, and
with a
that should be explained in the letter to the owners. Okay.
Yep.
Very good.
All right. So Ed, you'll be okay writing a letter? Thank you. Speaking of yourself as a veteran, no, I look at this. Good. Okay. All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
I,
Aye. Anyone opposed or an abstention? Thank you very much. We don't have any minutes to review or approve, so we'll move on to public comment. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak to the Board of Selectmen this evening under public comment? Yes, if you come forward, please state your name and your address.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is Tom Irwin. I live at 54 Central Avenue in Dalton, Massachusetts. While I was a member of the Dalton Waste Management and Recycling Committee, I learned of paint stewardship. The concept seemed perfect, and after visiting Connecticut, Vermont, and New York to confirm it was well received by retailers and residents, I became an advocate for this legislation in Massachusetts. Tonight, I'm requesting Adams Select Board consider passing a resolution supporting this bill. Why is product stewardship even needed? Massachusetts generates 5.9 million tons of trash annually, but only has a capacity to incinerate 3.2 million tons annually. Most of the remaining trash, therefore, needs to be landfilled and must be hauled out of states to places as far away as Ohio. This is expensive and has a very large carbon footprint. Product stewardship is an important tool to help decrease this expensive burden. But what is paint stewardship? It is a program that allows residents to discard unwanted latex or oil-based paints without cost to participating retail stores any day the stores are open. The returned paint is collected in totes, hauled to paint reprocessing plants, reblended to like-new condition, and sold for less than 50% of original cost. The program has been working well in 11 states and the District of Columbia, including our neighboring states of Connecticut, Rhode Island, Maine, Vermont, and New York. The consumer's part will be paying less than $1 fee per gallon or less than $1.75 per 5 gallons of paint. What benefits will Adams see? Will be a service that Adams residents will value. This is made clear by noting that up to 60% of latex returned to the Enfield, Connecticut Sherwin-Williams store comes from Massachusetts residents. Also, 92% of 735 Massachusetts residents attending Household Hazardous Waste Days signed petitions encouraging their legislators to become bill co-sponsors. This suggests that 92% of Adams residents with unwanted paint, and likely there are many, would support this bill. Second, it will present no cost to municipalities, and there will be a decrease in household hazardous waste day costs. And this has been demonstrated in our 5 neighboring states that already have the law. It would also significantly decrease toxic waste that too often is created when oil-based paints are discarded inappropriately. And finally, it will be a model for future product ship legislation that will address items like mattresses, solar panels, lithium car batteries, electronics, and plastics. So if this is so good, why hasn't it passed previously? The problem stems from there being between 6,000 and 7,000 bills considered each legislative session and only 4% of them getting to the floor for a vote. This compels consideration of cost savings, which for paint stewardship will only amount to $2 million annually, which is big for you and I, but small change for the state. And public demand, which for paint stewardship hasn't been sufficient because too few people were aware of the law, but that is changing. So what are our next steps? Since residents of Adams will appreciate this bill, and since over 70 municipalities support this bill, and since saving our environment demands bills like this, please strongly consider adding Adams' supportive resolution to the list of bill supporters. When the bill arrives at the Ways and Means Committee in mid-February, it will be extremely valuable to have as many resolutions as possible from municipalities, encouraging the committee chairs to view the paint stewardship favorably, get it to the floor for a vote where it will most certainly pass. Hopefully this bill resonates with the select board sufficiently that you are interested in discussing this bill further and asking questions. I would be glad to assist in this process by attending additional meetings, providing additional information, and answering questions as needed. I look forward to being contacted to consider next steps. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Irwin. Anyone else under public comment? Yes. Oh, go ahead, John. Haley? I was like, John or Haley? Okay. Oh.
Ready?
While you guys sort that out, somebody else has emerged. If you could please state your name and your address.
My name is Stephen Marco. That's Marco with a K.
Mhm.
Live at 650 Wells Road in Cheshire, Mass. We own a piece of property in town of Adams on East Mountain Road. We've had it for 60 years. And I'm 76, and I'm one of the youngest of the original 6 that had this, and now we've got 9 people on the deed, and we decided to sell the place. So in July, we contracted with a local realtor to sell the property. And it's about 70 acres there, so it's an old farm. And it's primarily a summer thing, but we access it by snowmobile in winter. What has happened here is we've got a number of offers. Probably 30 people have looked at the property and are interested in it. And we've gotten a number of offers, but those offers always have a contingency on them that is in regard to the road that we access the property through. And so Our lawyer has been gathering information on that, just so we can figure out what's what. So there's been a lot of discussion. There was a court case that the town lost there. I don't know how much you folks know about any of this. But what I'm, so what we proceeded to do with the Realtor is to go for title insurance. Right, that would verify that actually we, it'd give us a leg to stand on, that we have access to the property. And so we've been working on that. We had all the information put together. So things are going along, and I got a text message from my Realtor, and he says, "Hi, Steve." And the date on this thing is December 3rd, 2023. Have learned from the town that there is no road frontage because East Mountain Road has been abandoned. Buyers cannot build off-grid home. This diminishes the marketability of the property. I don't have to tell you the difference between, if that is not the town of road, that town is actually abandoned it. The only option is to sell it to the state. And I don't know if you've dealt with the state, but the difference between the state offer and the public offers that we've been getting is hugely significant. So we don't want to go in that direction. And what I'm asking for, and so I met with your building commissioner, I guess that's what we call him, on December 4th of this year after I got this letter. And he said, "Steve, you got to give me some information." So I gave him the whole packet of the plans that were done by, I believe, the state for the road layout. It's all been laid out. You hired, the town of Adams hired Dave Krudiak to build that, to improve the road. Now, we've been driving in there for 40 years from, originally went in from the East Mountain Road, or from the East Mountain Road other end, where there is a bridge called High Bridge. I don't know if anybody's aware of that. All right, the bridge got in disrepair, and so the town ultimately was forced to give the Fritzes access to their property, which was on the south side of the bridge. And they lost that, the town of Adams lost that court case. I have all that information here. I'm not going to get into the details of it. But basically, the judge said, "You've got some options here, folks. You can pay these people off for what, the property's worth, buy the property from them. You can build a road in other directions, and you can build another, you can take the old section of the road and repair it." I guess, those were the options and the town of Adams elected to repair the road. Now, we had been driving in from the other direction because it was closer for over 40 years. And the town came in with Dave Krudiak and did I'll say, a wonderful job of improving the road. They put a culvert in there. There's the 12-foot brook runs all the way up there. So it was like a 4-foot diameter culvert and came all the way through to our property. And actually, I believe that this road ran into Savoy and they wanted to keep it in Adams. So the town bought 3 acres of our property to continue the road to keep it all in Adams. I have the deeds for that. The town paid us $3,600 for that property, and they built the road down to the Fritzes, and everything was pretty much fine. So I was kind of surprised. I gave the information to Jerry, and he said, "I can't make a decision." He said, "I'll give it to town council." So I assume Eddie, he gave it to you right away. And I'm waiting for some direction here. And what I would like is confirmation that the road is a public way, has been a public way, and continues to be a public way. That's all I'm looking for.
Have you received the materials? Because I think it would be.
I've received materials from Mr. Garner. I'm also somewhat familiar with the court case. It was litigated well before my time here, and I think my father actually represented the town back in the 70s on it. And the problem that exists in this case, and I spoke to your attorney about it recently, is that there's no evidence that the town ever accepted it, the road, as a public way. There's no town meeting vote that exists that establishes that, or that it was dedicated. And those are typically the ways that a road is accepted by the town. You go through a process. We went through it recently with Kingsmont Lane, where we have a vote, there's a petition or a town meeting warrant article that's presented. The DPW comes in and talks about, you know, what they consider to be sufficient and if it meets their requirements. And very importantly is the requirement that abutters yield their rights to what is a private way. And none of that has taken place as far as we can tell with regard to this. So how does it become a public way? And that's, as I told your attorney, there's no evidence that it is a public way. I can't very well say with all honesty and represent to the town that indeed it is a public way, because right now there's nothing to show that it is a public way. So it still needs investigation, because obviously, you know, making a determination like this may help Mr. Marco in the sale of his property, but it also burdens the town with the expense and maintenance of a road that we don't really know what it is exactly. You know, and Mr. Marco may very well be telling us everything accurately in terms of Mr. Krudiak working on the road, who commissioned him to do it, who paid him, why did they do it, why would they possibly be paying Mr. Krudiak to do work on a private road, for example. We don't really know the answers to that at this point. I don't know that I'm ever going to find the answer to it, to be honest with you. I don't know.
So that's confirmation the town council does have the materials that were submitted and is working through it with your attorney. This is not an agenda item, so we can't really discuss or ask any further questions. So I did want to just at least confirm for you that our town council does have the documentation.
Let me say a few things. All right. We've been driving in on that road for 40 years. Let me step back a little bit. We've been paying taxes on that property for 60 years, 65 years. All right. In the 30 or 35 years that this improved road was in there, we have never asked for it to be plowed or even a shovel of gravel. All right. We've maintained it ourselves. All right. I'm not in here asking you to take and make superhighway up there and tar, and I'm just asking to make a word called a public way. All right. I'm not asking you to plow the road. You never plowed the road. I'm not asking for any maintenance. You've never done that. All right. And there's more than just me. All right. The state has recently logged in there. They were taking, the road is so good, they were taking tandem trailer trucks down in there. All right. Steve Blazewski, Berkshire Outfitters, just logged his property. His is on the Savoy side. The state is on the Savoy side. The Fritzes actually sold their property to the state. Lambert has logged in there, and the Zimbas have logged in there. All right, they're our next door neighbors, and they're so I guess I will say all four of our abutters have logged on their property and taken it out on that road without issue. Not here asking for any maintenance. So you're collecting, you know, just think about this. You've been getting taxes for 60 years for nothing. I'm not here asking for anything. I'm just asking for you to say, give me a piece of paper that says this is a public way.
Thank you, Mr. Marco.
Thank you.
Thank you. State your name and your address.
John Pitroff, 19 Leonard Street in Adams.
Mhm.
Trying to make this short and sweet. I'm here on behalf with Tom, both on a personal level and for the Northern Berkshire Solid Waste Management District. He's come to talk to us in the past about it, and I've also talked to him on a personal level about the paint care bill he brought up. I just wanted to mention, I think it's pretty much a no-brainer, and from my common sense perspective, I think it's something that hopefully will be considered in more detail. The way it works is people, stores volunteer. If you're selling paint, you volunteer, and basically the customers have to pay 75 cents more per container, and then when the customer is done with the paint, and if there's still stuff in there, they bring it back to that said store. I think that makes a lot of sense for just the common person who has paint sitting around, doesn't know what to do with it. We do the household hazardous waste collection, but I don't know how many people are keeping that stuff at their house all year to bring it on one day. This makes the option, hey, I bought it here, I can bring it back here. The paint's all reused into something else, and the cost just goes to the customer at that 75 cents. Every state around us is doing it besides New Hampshire. So to me, it makes a lot of sense. I know that, as you all know, that waste has to travel pretty far, up to the Canadian border in Morrisville, New York, to the landfill that it all goes to. So if it could stay here and be turned into something else rather than put in a landfill and used in that way, I think this is a much better idea that hopefully will be considered. Tom's the expert, but I did want to lend my support and just leave you with that. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, I just have a question. I was gonna ask Tom, is it
Wait.
okay?
I just want to caution us that it's not on the agenda, so we can't really deliberate. So if you wanted to ask a direct question, I can try to put it on a future agenda, which is,
Okay, I was gonna ask a
Sure.
question, but I'm just gonna make a comment. Tom, I think Dalton is a showcase for green communities, what the town of Dalton is doing. I wish that we could copy that. I watch closely how Dalton is really looking at green technology, doing a lot of things, and I can see that you're right in on that. So I just want to give kudos to the town of Dalton for what they're doing for environmental betterment.
Ms. Menswar. You can state your name and your address. For the record.
Park Street. I'm here this evening just to talk a little bit about the annual census. Hopefully, all of our residents have received a form that looks similar like this. I brought some props tonight. So if you've received this, I ask that you send it back to us. There was an envelope included. You can drop it in our drop box out front. There's a box out in the foyer, out in our, in town hall. There's another basket down by the town clerk's office. And if you can't make it in here and you can't mail it in, you can always call our office and we are more than happy to take your census information over the phone. Thank you. And I'm gonna head right into our elections that are coming up this year. We have 4 elections in the town of Adams this year. A lot of you at home, if you're a registered voter, you got one of these at home. You can fill it out, you can send it in, make sure you do your proper checks on it, send it in through the mail. It's postage paid already. You can drop it off in our drop box. You can bring it down to the town clerk's office. We are more than happy to take it. This gives you the option to vote by mail. Once the ballots are received in my office, we will process them. We will send them out to you in the mail. Then you can return it and you have already voted and you don't need to come visit us on March 5th at the Adams Memorial Building. If you don't want to mail this in and you just want to go on and do an application online, you can do it. There's a little website here that you can just log in and you can punch in your name, your date of birth, and it'll come through our portal and we will still mail you a ballot. And if you don't want to do any of those options, you can certainly come visit us in person for early voting, which will take place starting on Saturday, February 24th. Yes, it's a Saturday. We will be here from 9 to 5. You will be able to come into town hall and vote on a Saturday. Other than that, we'll vote the following week, Monday through Friday, our normal business hours. Again, if you don't make it in to do any of those, you can just come see us on March 5th at the Adams Memorial Building from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. I'm just going to move in and I'm going to talk just briefly about our annual town election, which is coming up. That will be May 6th. If you did happen to fill out one of these cards and you checked all elections, we will mail you a ballot for our town election also. So no need to worry. You possibly will be getting 4 ballots from us in the mail. I'm anticipating that nomination papers will be available in the town clerk's office on January 29th. It is a Monday. And all candidates will need to submit all their nominations to the office by March 18th. So you'll be seeing a lot of me to talk a lot about elections this year. And certainly if anybody has any specific questions about the elections, feel free to call my office and we are more than happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I just
Yep.
add one quick question, Haley? As far as the census, it's allowed to, you can call in and
Yeah.
give your name and address?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep, and we just ask if all the information is the same. We take a note, we write it down, we go over to our computer and we update you.
okay, okay, so you have something on paper once they've called.
Right, right. We keep track. Right. We keep track of how many people call. We keep track of how many we receive in the mail. We keep track of how many undeliverables we get back.
Yeah, okay. I just, there's a dishonesty factor perhaps when someone calls in for reasons
Well,
that
let's
no.
hope that everybody in Adams is being honest.
Okay, we hope so.
Anyone else for public comment? Okay. Hearing none, I'll close public comment. We'll move on to new business. Item A, Jay, if you would like to introduce the board to the new veteran service agent. Mitchell, is it Keel? Okay. Hello, Mitchell.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. So I think it was at our December meeting that we did talk a little bit about this, but we were looking for a convenient time where you can come in person and be introduced. And Jay, if you wanted to add anything.
So as a reminder, everybody, our veterans veteran service agent is shared with the city of North Adams as well as a good majority. I think it's 8, total of 8. Mitch, is that what it is? 8 communities: Dalton, Lanesboro, Cheshire, North Adams, Florida, large and small.
Civil Aid, Crawford Community.
Thank you. Mitchell has them all. Mr. Roy resigned from the position and city recruited Mitchell to that role. So here he is tonight. We are going to move his location. He's in the basement of Town Hall, which really doesn't reflect the way that we care for his work. And it's going to be far better to have him based with the Council on Aging folks. Most of the constituents that Mitchell serves can also perhaps use the services of our Council on Aging or vice versa. I think there's an effort that needs to be made to ensure that these folks understand what services may be available out there. So we're going to do that. We're hoping to do that last week of January. We'll see. But Mitchell, I don't think you're changing office hours or anything at this point.
As of right now, I'm coming on only Thursdays, 2 to 3:30. And only for that is because it's a very deep system to learn. And the assistant that's in North Adams has been doing it for 10 years and she's a wealth of knowledge. So any problems I run into, I can bounce off of her, along with the people in a Facebook group, the Western Mass Veteran Service Organization Association. They've been helping. And then with my work through the Legion, I know veteran service officers throughout the nation that have also answered questions to help me get through helping the veterans of Adams. Our 115 needs program that is a big part of what I do. I believe I've met every veteran that's on it in the town of Adams. I know a lot of the veterans through the Legion, and what was I gonna say? I think that's that.
So welcome, Mitch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just got a question. Now, are you certified?
I'm not accredited. I am taking all those classes through the VA, and then the VSOA in Massachusetts has their own certified program that I'm also going through.
You said right now you're only 2:30 to 3:30 on Thursday. Is that going?
That's just office hours, but we make appointments to come down. I know Steve was coming Tuesdays and Thursdays all afternoon. And if anybody calls from Adams, we make appointments and I meet them down here when it's available for them.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions for Mitchell? All right, well, welcome aboard and
Thank you.
thank you so much for serving the town of Adams.
Appreciate it. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That'll bring us to item B, ratification of appointment of Michael Nguyen as Executive Director of the Greylock Glen Outdoor Center. Michael's here. If you want to come forward, do you want to read your letter?
I'll certainly do that.
Okay.
Sure.
I'll turn it over to our town administrator.
So setting the stage for Mike this evening, about a year or so ago, we flushed out exactly what the initial staffing was going to look like at the Greylock Glen complex. And the decision was made to fund the position of executive director with a variety of duties and responsibilities, and a superintendent of buildings and grounds to kind of handle some of the maintenance tasks on the path to become a self-sustaining enterprise. So with that, the job description was made over the summer. We advertised for the position. There was a grand total of approximately 12 applicants for it. We interviewed 6, whittled that down to a final 4. And with that, Mr. Nguyen is in front of the board tonight for your ratification, and I will read the recommendation letter that I drafted. This letter is to advise the Board of Selectmen that Mr. Michael J. Nguyen has been appointed to the newly created position of Executive Director of the Greylock Glen Outdoor Center. As provided in Section 10 of the Town Charter, I am honored to present Mr. Nguyen for your ratification this evening. The Greylock Glen Resort is a keystone project not only in our community's economic revitalization efforts, but also in our evolutionary path from New England Milltown to Berkshire County's premier outdoor recreation destination. As such, the success of this project will not only impact Adams, but also the region. In choosing the person to take on these critical duties, our focus was on demonstrated ability to execute tasks, work collaboratively as a member of the team to achieve mission success, and the ability to adapt to unknown circumstances. During the interview process, Mr. Nguyen emerged as the person who is best prepared and most experienced to be the first executive director of the Greylock Glen Outdoor Center. Mr. Nguyen has 30 years of significant experience in leadership and management in the municipal sector, having recently led the 120 members of the Pittsfield Police Department with a budget of approximately $12 million. As an experienced department head, he is familiar with all aspects of municipal operations and understands the unique role that town government has in fostering a vibrant and attractive community. Mr. Nguyen has significant experience in the human services and cultural nonprofit sector, having served on various boards and commissions. He has board service with the Berkshire Community College, Berkshire Taconic Community Foundation, Barrington Stage, Norman Rockwell Museum, Boys and Girls Club, and Berkshire United Way, among others. In 2021, he was appointed by Governor Baker to serve on the post standing for Peace Officer Standards and Training Commission, which implemented police reform legislation in the Commonwealth. Mr. Nguyen has a genuine interest in making the outdoors accessible and meaningful for all of us. He understands the regional economics regarding outdoor recreation and participates in outdoor activities with his family. Mike is uniquely equipped with the skills, experience, and enthusiasm to be part of our team that is dedicated to achieving the vision for the Greylock Glen that our community has long waited for. Once ratified and contingent upon successfully passing and completing any and all hiring requirements of the town of Adams, Mike will begin his employment on or about January the 22nd, 2024 at grade 15, step 6, which provides for an annual salary of $88,577. The salary is within the advertised and budgeted funding for the position for fiscal year 2024.
I thought Mr. Nguyen brought his own hype man and his own entrance music there.
I almost thought for a second, oh, that timing was actually really good.
Wow, impressive. We haven't had that done before with a ratification, but here we are with a brand new position and a first-time executive director for the Greylock Glen Outdoor Center. So it is an exciting moment. It was worthy of some music there at the end there. So yeah, so Mr. Nguyen, do you have anything that you would like to say?
Saying thank you for the opportunity and for placing your trust in me. But I'd also like to say that I am really looking forward to this. I understand the significance of this project to the town of Adams and to the greater region, both economically and culturally, and I'm very enthusiastic about playing a role in that.
I'll open up to the board. Any questions or comments for Mr. Nguyen?
I just have a question. I was wondering now, are you getting a pension?
I'm not drawing my pension.
You're not drawing your pension? How about, can you only work a certain amount of hours?
I'm not income capped. I am not drawing my pension.
I'm not drawing your pension. But if you're okay, this is a town, so this will go towards your pension?
as I understand it from talking to your retirement representative, at some point when I decide to draw my pension, I will at that point have to look at the two systems and make a decision about which system I choose to retire from.
Okay. Yeah, I just had that concern about drawing a pension and,
I understand the concern. We researched it thoroughly before I accepted the position.
okay.
Well, thank you for your interest in applying to the position. We're very fortunate to have you and your experience and especially your leadership experience. This is a very important project to us also, as you might, you already know that. The question would be to the town administrator, he's going to report directly to you. Is that, okay. And hopefully you'll have an open door to the Board of Selectmen members individually.
Absolutely.
Questions or, okay, great.
I think if you were to check with your counterparts on the Pittsfield City Council, I would much prefer to have two-way communication before we come into a meeting than try to hash things out in the last minute here. So yes, my door is always open. My phone will always be available.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments? Hearing none, what is the board's pleasure?
Thank you.
Make a motion the board ratify the appointment of Michael J. Wynn as Executive Director for the Greylock Glen Outdoor Center.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second, any discussion?
Yeah, I just have one comment. When is our plans, do we envision for a stay alone where we have, you know, a foundation or something? Because I spoke to Representative Barrett and he said that nothing has come forward from us about setting something up. Or,
Well, the setting up a foundation has nothing to do with the state legislature. What you may be referring to is a governing commission.
yeah,
When that
okay,
happens, that should be set up once the development is up and running. Right now, it is too fragile, it's too dynamic of a situation, and the commission hasn't necessarily been flushed out. That legislation was provided to him and it was provided to Senator Hines, and they didn't necessarily take action on it. And I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing because we're under construction. And there's a lot of work associated with making the Glen project work. And that would add, frankly, a layer of bureaucracy, and it would take this board and myself an arm's length away from making sure that that project happens. So there's a time and a place for that. There's a time and a place for the foundation as well. The foundation, the entire concept is that the Greylock Glen become modeled very much like Massimoka, and that it remove itself from town governance in the sense that we have to meet procurement and a lot of things that slow us down as a municipality. The foundation can be created, and we had used that approach a while ago, but then the money came in from the state, so we shifted gears to begin building the outdoor center. So eventually there'll be a commission, but at the end of the day, the vision is, unless it changes, is to have the foundation actually operate Greylock Glen. And with that, there'll be a 501c3 nonprofit. They'll be able to receive, you know, money from independent folks and not be reliant upon the taxpayer to do that. It'll be a mix of its own money, i.e. enterprise, as well as that. So no, there hasn't been any movement on it because we're focused on getting the project up and running.
Just
Okay.
one slight correction. Rep Barrett did file legislation at the request of town meeting from Town Adams last January. It died at House Ways and Means last year. So it was, what was told to us is that he was going to introduce that again in this session.
okay. I don't believe he has.
Okay. But he has the language from town meeting.
Okay.
So any other discussion on this ratification of Mr. Nguyen as the executive director? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed or an abstention? That is unanimous. Welcome officially to the team. All right. So we'll move on to a review of annual community development work plan, and I think Eamon is still behind the podium somewhere. Can't see him.
I'll set the stage up for Eamon as well. So part of what I just chatted about is the concept that the town of Adams has a lot of work going on. There are individual tasks associated with the Greylock Glen in and of itself. This is a tremendous amount of work. We don't necessarily talk about it a lot because it's work that's performed by the staff, mostly by Donna, myself, Eamon. Mike will be brought on board in order to start taking on those tasks. The outdoor center is not just under construction, it's also under grant management because some of those funds are grants. We had to put out RFPs for the restaurant and for the education center. All of that is administratively heavy and takes time. The Greylock Glen, although a centerpiece of the town's community development plan decided on long ago, doesn't stop the other projects that we're also working on elsewhere. So what Eamon and I thought beginning of the calendar year, Donna also did this as well. We thought it was a great opportunity for Eamon to come in and just kind of run through the work plan for fiscal 24 with the board. That gives us and the staff a sense of where you want our priorities to be. We are following our master plan. We are following our open space plan, where the things that the community development department is working on is all priorities and policy based from the Board of Selectmen. So it's good for Eamon to come in and discuss it. Oftentimes we're torn. We're torn in a variety of different directions with a variety of different agendas, a variety of different priorities. And with very limited time and limited resources, and frankly, at this point, a young in terms of experienced staff, we've had full turnover in that department just in my 5 years. We have a new director, a new planner, we have a brand new program manager who just started last week before, and we have a brand new administrative assistant. So at the same time as we're taking on all these projects, some of which are very time consuming, we have although ambitious and energetic, we have a department that's on the young experience side. So with that, give Eamon ample time to come up to the podium, and he's going to walk you through all the things that our community development department, of which personally as town administrator, I'm proud of, they've been working on.
So you should have two handouts from me tonight. The first is just a simple spreadsheet of active and recently completed grant-funded projects. It's just a running list that I've been trying to keep updated recently. So the first table is things that we're actively, the Community Development Department and Donna are actively managing and working on. And then the second table as part of this is things that we've just recently wrapped up or completed. I think it would take too much time to run through all of these, but it includes all of our Greylock Glen funding, funding for the outdoor center, funding for the water system, our congressionally directed funding we received from Senator Neal, are the two CDBG grants that we're currently managing. I will say most recently we just received funds, $55,000 from the Mass EVIP program to construct some electric vehicle chargers down at the visitor center. So that's the most recent grant funding we received just a week or two ago. We're also waiting a proposal for chargers up at the Greylock Glen as well, but have not yet finalized that application. And then, so that's just a list of active grants that we have and things that we've recently wrapped up. And then you also have a listing of the work plan for the year, which includes construction projects. So all of the current and ongoing work up at Greylock Glen, our housing rehab program, CDBG work that we're hoping to put out to bid soon, as well as this includes an overview of projects I'd like to try to get underway this year, including, we always have to be, in community development, I've learned that we always have to be thinking for the, thinking ahead, trying to get the next project rolling and started. So I'd like to look at repaving of Winter Street as a potential new CDBG project in the next few years. We had good luck with our FY22 and 23 grant in getting funding for our roads and sidewalks, and so I'd like to try to continue that and get some money to redo Winter Street, repave that, redo the sidewalks, possibly look at a couple pocket parks along there. This also includes RFPs that we either have out currently or are about to put out. We currently have the Glen Cafe operator and Memorial School redevelopment are active and out there. And then Curtis Fine Paper site redevelopment RFP is soon to be issued. This also includes a rundown of grant applications I'd like to pursue in the next few months. I think one of the most important would be an MVP grant. That's our municipal vulnerability and preparedness. I'd like to try to get some funding for our Pex Brook channel project, as well as possible drainage improvements down at Reed Field. And we also have, we're getting into our Mass Works or One Stop for Growth season. I'd like to apply for a number of projects through that grant application. This also includes our planning work, ongoing, and things that we're going to have to start up this year, primarily to maintain our eligibility for grant funding. Bylaw work that we're currently working on and hope to get passed at annual town meeting. And then just a list of, I guess, back burner type issues, things that we constantly have to be thinking about, trying to identify potential sources of funding or ways to attack and solve these issues. I'm happy to answer any questions. I know it's a lot of information to go over, but I'm happy to talk about any of it.
I'll open up the board for any questions or comments.
The only thing I have is, you have the agenda, our next agenda item. We look into the Aggie Fairgrounds as to what might be needed there.
Yeah, that's something I've actually meant to list it on this plan as that is something we certainly need to think about. An off-the-cuff idea would be to try to redevelop it for housing, but it's something we need to think through as town staff and maybe try to engage the public around a little bit more. But yeah, it's certainly it's a key property, and it's something that we should look into and develop a real plan for.
Anyone else?
Yeah, that came kind of quick to me there. So there's been talk about putting housing down there. So you brought it up.
That's just a thought that I had. That's what we've done with a lot of other properties recently. We certainly have a big need for housing in town and in the Berkshires. I'm not saying that's what it will be or what, but that's my off-the-cuff idea of what to do down there.
And I have two other things. I know that I've approached you many times, and you say you're working at it, but we need to find some funding for the Quaker Meeting House. And this has been going on for quite some time.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, I talked to Eugene and Ryan from the Historical Commission recently. We talked about the potential for a grant application this year. And one hiccup there is there is some additional study, investigative work that's needed to identify work on or what to do with the foundation for the building. So yeah, we're talking through how to either address that work or try to get some funding for that through a potential grant application.
Yeah, and the last thing is, and I just recently spoke to you about this, trying to track down the owner of the Fish Street Dam.
Yep.
I know he's been very elusive, or maybe not even anywhere or anybody, but I know that you discussed that there's tax taking going on now. Is that correct?
Yeah, we've started. I talked to Kelly Rice. We've started the ball rolling on the tax taking process with that property. To be honest, I don't know if we'll ever identify the owner, the true owner, or ever make contact with them. But yeah, we've started the ball rolling on the tax taking process. I don't know how long that will take before we get control of the property. But I've had a couple meetings now with Office of Dam Safety, DCR's Office of Dam Safety, and it seems like ownership is really the only avenue we have that allows us access to grants and allows us to really to start moving forward with removing that dam. But as long as it's in private hands, it's going to be very difficult for us to do any of that.
Right, because there's money to be had, and you start talking cold water fisheries and people listen. So, and it is been silted over for so long, I don't know if it will be able to maintain its structure forever, but it certainly has been filled up for as many years as I can remember, completely filled with siltation.
Yeah, and it's a danger. It's listed as a significant hazard, I think. There's like basically it's a 3-point scale, and you know, from not so dangerous to very dangerous, and it's right in the middle.
Okay, that's all I have.
I got a few questions here. I understand you're very busy and you guys and your team has done some great work. And I'm just looking for some status as I ask about a couple of these projects. I just haven't heard much recently. It's my fault. The Jordan Street culvert replacement. I understand that's a FEMA government grant. I'm curious where, and you have some words here, notes, but where do we stand is one question at this point. And the second one is there's a local match required. And I'm curious, has that been discussed and how that process will go forward if we do attempt to match for the grant?
Yeah. In terms of status, we're very close to going through CONSCOM environmental permitting with that project. We discussed with VHB last week a potential for a hearing with the CONSCOM in February on that. The design is mostly complete. We need to discuss with the building owner some, you know, the plans for the culvert there and get their input on things. But we're close to permitting. Once we're complete with that, we can move. We need to reassess where we're at with MEMA, and then try to move into bidding and construction, hopefully this summer or fall. In terms of the funding, I'd have to get back to you with more details. Donna's really been managing the day-to-day of that. And I know there have been significant increases, cost increases beyond what we were initially awarded grant funds for. So I can't give you any definite answers on the funding status, but I can get that to you quickly.
We're working with Congressman Neal's office to ensure that there's available funds. FEMA has indicated positively so far that that would be the case. They're aware that as these projects have sat and waited for FEMA to act on them, the costs have gone up. So we're hopeful that that will be the case. The money was appropriated by the town, and that money is held.
Okay, thank you. The second one is the Ashwiltacook Trail Extension, Phase 4, Lime Street to Hodgins Crossroad. 25% design is our initial goal to get to be able to begin to access the federal state grant or funding. Where are we with, and I know there's been stop and go over time on this. Where do we stand as of today on that?
Yeah, we're not yet at the 25% design stage. Most recently, we went through environmental permitting to get to allow VHB and a contractor to take soil borings along the proposed bike path route, and that will allow us to get basically allow them to tweak the design, start to design some of the footings for bridges and stream crossings and things that are needed. And then we also need to do some coordination with the city of North Adams on next steps because a significant portion of the project is in the city of North Adams. But yeah, once we get through, the soil borings were approved, and so we're still moving forward with design there. But they haven't had time to. VHB hasn't yet analyzed the results of the borings.
Okay, the last question is the Curtis Fine paper property. I know that became available to the town recently. I know there's a $50,000 community compact best practice grant identified here, but what's the overall status, the way forward for that?
So yeah, we did receive money for that, for the grant to look at a highest and best use study, look at different redevelopment options. That project's basically complete. VHB was the contractor there, and did that study for us. I still need to get they haven't finalized the actual document yet, the study report to give to us. But then once we get the final document there, we'll simply roll it into the RFP and Donna's been kind of taking the lead on that, developing that. And with any luck, we can get it out in the next month or so.
All right, thank you. All set.
Yeah, tagging along with what John's saying about the brownfield assessment grant for 26 commercial, 50 commercial, and 5 to 7 Husick. Could you just give an update on the severity of the findings of the brownfield and what that means for getting these properties into development so we can get them back on the tax rolls?
I'm not sure. I understand your question.
Are there any results of the brownfield of the cleanups? Or are they still in the planning phases?
Oh, well, the brownfield assessment grant that I have listed here, we haven't even started it yet. We've received the funds, but with staff turnover, it's been a little bit difficult to get the ball rolling on that. But I did speak with Melissa Provencher, who runs the regional brownfields program through the BRPC. She's assisting us with that. BRPC is going to get us a draft agreement where they would possibly handle a lot of the administrative work on the grant. And then we will need to release another RFP to find what's called a licensed site professional who will actually do the assessment work on all these different properties.
And what roughly is the time frame on that?
Hopefully the next couple of months.
And when do you foresee, best case, the work being completed?
It depends. We're gonna, in talking with Melissa, the goal for these assessment grants is to basically spend them out as quickly as possible.
Okay.
So really, it's going to be a matter of identifying the LSP who can do the assessment work and getting a real schedule for them on what they can accomplish. So we'll have, we have our priority lists: Curtis, 26 commercial, a couple of the other mill sites, as well as the former dry cleaners on Richmond Lane Avenue. And so we just need to develop a work plan with them and get a schedule there. I can't really give you any concrete or definite answers on.
Okay, and 5 to 7 Husick, that's a privately owned property.
Yep.
What is the issue there?
I believe there's some level of contamination. I don't really know the and there's some level of contamination in the parking lot area as well, I believe. But I don't know many of the details there. But
Coal dust too, I think, came in on the south side of the building, buried in the soil.
Thank you.
But I will just say with this brownfields assessment grant, it is a way for us to that we can help work with the private sector and kind of encourage the redevelopment of some of these sites. We're not limited to assessment on only town-owned property. We can devote some funds to private property as well.
Thank you, Raymond.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Right. We'll move on to item D. And this is a vote to dissolve the lease between the town of Adams and Adams Agricultural Fair. Is there anyone here from the Aggie Fair? Oh, hi. If you want to come to the podium. If you could state your name and your position with the
Forrest McLean III.
Forrest.
Came to bring his keys.
Oh, okay. That's efficient. I think that we were also still waiting on a letter from Adams.
Meeting with an attorney on the 24th to finalize what we have to do.
Okay.
We're gonna split up the funds, give them out to nonprofit charitable organizations like the one that does your decorations around town. Give something to the vets so they can finish their walkway up here to the memorial. Lewiston House, Adams Forest Warrens, and it'll be done. Unfortunately, COVID kicked us in the butt. We tried. So who gets the keys?
This man over here.
I'll take them for it.
Looks like it is not me.
You'll be the key guy. You
Thanks.
might want to give
Thanks.
Chuck Felix a call because he's got the rest of them.
Okay. Thank you. We do thank you for um, all of the work that was done um, over the years, decades. I should.
Was winterized I winterized it last October. It should be good till spring anyway. As far as the rental goes, for somebody rented it for a weekend in June or July. I think it's the Fairy Fest. Not 100% sure. Chuck's not answering his phone.
Okay. And may I ask who your attorney is?
Hmm?
May I ask who your attorney is so we can clear anything with your attorney?
Treasurer's friend of the treasurer got it.
Okay.
He's in North Adams.
North Adams attorney. Okay.
As soon as I find out, I'll send you an email.
Okay. Yes, I think you've been corresponding with Ms. Hampman from our office.
Yep.
Um, it's my understanding we do have to take an official vote to dissolve the lease. Okay.
So through the chair, instead of us discussing possible usages and the future of Bow Field, that the board, I think we discussed this previously, the board has the opportunity to have a walkthrough of the buildings and grounds prior to having that discussion. It's been a while since I've been on it for some of the events, but I don't have a good grasp of all the buildings and the field, what's left of the fields and so I'd like to have the board do a walkthrough and then future.
If you set it up and send me an email.
Yeah.
Like 3 weeks in advance, I can meet you there.
Appreciate that. And then we can get down to what how we're gonna move forward. That's just the request I have, Chair.
Send me an email, I'll set it up and. All righty.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's that.
Nice evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Very nice to meet you. So there is the order of business that the board does need to officially vote to dissolve the lease between the town of Adams and Adams Agricultural Fair.
I'll make a motion that the board vote to dissolve the lease between the inhabitants of the town of Adams and the Adams Agricultural Fair Association, Inc.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, any discussion? Here, oh, sorry.
Is there any cost to the town for dissolving the lease?
Well, there's no cost to dissolving the lease, but the town now reassumes full ownership, control, and management of the property, which we haven't had.
I assume during budget workshops, we'll be discussing that.
Don't have to.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed or an abstention? That is unanimous. Item E.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Sorry.
You mentioned that there was someone that has requested use of the field, and I guess after we do our walkthrough, we can determine it could be the same as every other field that someone would put in a application to use town property. Would go through the town administrator if we feel it's a proper request. But that's all. Again, budget workshops, things like that.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Item E, review of open meeting law complaint filed by Kathy Foster and refer the matter to town council for response. We've actually received 3 open meeting law complaints from Ms. Foster, and the board has been forwarded all of the documentation. And at this time, I am asking the board to refer the matters to town council for response, which I do need a motion in order for the board to refer to town council to respond on our behalf.
I'll make a motion that the board forward the open meeting law complaint from Ms. Foster to town council
For a response.
for response.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion from the board?
Yes, I just, you mentioned Miss Foster. Do we have one from Patrick Higgins too?
That's an item F.
Okay.
We have to take them separately.
Yep.
Yep.
So to the chair, what is the process? Legal counsel will investigate, respond to the state attorney general's office, and then comes back to us, or how's that process gonna work? So
All right.
The process is, requires that I respond to Ms. Foster's complaints, copy the Attorney General's office on it, and there's a time frame built in. If she's not satisfied with the town's response, Ms. Foster can appeal those findings, if you will, to the Attorney General and let the Attorney General make a decision about it.
okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or an abstention? So item F is review of open meeting law complaint filed by Patrick Higgins and refer the matter to town council for response. This complaint was forwarded to the Board of Selectmen, and this evening I am asking the board to take a vote to refer this to town council to respond on our behalf.
So moved?
Can you state the motion?
Not really, but make a motion that the board uh, refer the open meeting law complaint from Patrick Higgins to town council for his response.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Here, oh, yeah, that's.
Okay, I just have a question in regards to, as part of our packet, there was a letter to the chair of the Brookline Advisory Committee. And what, is that just supporting information, or what was the reasoning for that to be part of our information?
He included it in his complaint.
He included it.
That's his item.
That's his item.
This is the full packet.
Okay,
You got it all.
thank you.
You're welcome. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or an abstention? That is unanimous. Thank you. Next, so item G, we did receive a letter from the superintendent from the Hoosick Valley Regional School District. And it states, it is in your packet, but I will read it. Per the regional agreement, the Hoosick Valley Regional District School Committee is forming an ad hoc study group to review the regional agreement. The committee determined that the study group should include one school committee member from each town, one select person from each town, one finance committee member from each town, one resident from each town, and the superintendent. Each town will be responsible for recruiting and appointing those members from their town. We would like to assemble this committee in the new year with guidance from the Massachusetts Association of Regional Schools. If possible, the committee would like the towns of Adams and Cheshire to select membership for their town so they can be confirmed at the January 8th, 2024 meeting. Feel free to contact me with any questions. Sincerely, Superintendent Dean. I did speak with the superintendent about the dates, had shared with him that it would be put on our January 17th agenda, asking for volunteers to step forward and review the regional agreement with a deadline of next week, so that we would be able to make the appointments at our February 7th meeting, and that time frame was fine with the school district. So I wanted to just let everybody know. So if there is anybody on this board that would like to sit on the ad hoc study group to review the regional district agreement, please let our town administrator know. If there is anybody watching at home who would like to be the resident from the town of Adams who serves on this committee, please send an email letting us know that you would like to be participating, and we will send out the information to the finance committee to see if anybody would like to step forward. And as the board might remember, this was written into the regional district agreement when that was done. I can't believe it was 5 years ago that we completed that work, but here we are at the 5-year mark, and it was written in that every 5 years it would be reviewed, so here we are. So please, by the end of next week, if you could let Mr. Green know. Now, item H. Item H, each one of us, I believe, received a letter from town council dated January 4th. And I will read it, even though he's sitting in the room. Why he was talking about himself in the third person earlier. Dear board, I am writing to you to announce my retirement from the position of town council, effective upon the completion of the term of my current appointment on June 30th, 2024. I have had the privilege and pleasure of serving as Adams Town Council since 2000, and as a native and longtime resident of Adams, I am grateful for that opportunity. During that time, I have advised many different boards and municipal employees. I have represented the town in a variety of cases in district court, housing court, superior court, land court, appellate tax board, and appeals court. I would be happy to assist in the transition to new council for the town. Please do not hesitate to contact me. Very truly yours, Edmund R. St. John III. So I sent Ed a note letting him know that I appreciated the long runway to find counsel for the town as of July 1. This will be a change. It's several decades where you have served us and you've served us well. And thank you for your professionalism, and thank you for the advance notice that you've given us. So I will open up to the board for any questions or comments.
What if we say no?
He didn't write that in. Where he?
No, as I said, I appreciate the opportunity. It's been, an honor and a real pleasure sometimes to do this. But I appreciate this board. I appreciate all the boards that I've worked with, whether it be the Board of Selectmen or any of the other boards in town, as well as our current town administrator, as well as all past town administrators I've had the privilege of working with over the years. I do want to make note for the record that although I'm retiring from this position, I still plan on working. I'm scaling back, but I'm still doing my work in elderly law, which has become an important part of my practice, as well as I still want to do criminal law for, I don't know why, but I still love doing it, but still continue that. But thank you very much for the kind words.
Thank you, Ed. So you're not going far. Got it. Okay.
I know where his office is.
Thank you again.
Thank you, Ed, for your guidance and patience with me as chair and as a member of this board for 12 years. You provided some timely guidance to me, and also walking into your office on the left, there's that game ball from Adams High School.
Yes.
It's a pretty impressive sight when you walk in. So it's always, when I walk in, that's the first thing I look for.
I think it glows.
I don't want to say the year, but
That was the 1968 Adams High Drury game. Adams beat Drury 46-0.
thank you.
Thank you for the recap.
I have to say though, the tree is also impressive. I'm just, when I go over there to chat, I'm distracted by the tree. That gets a lot of love and care, and I've been fascinated by that. So but I think the football glows.
It does.
I too would like to pass on my best to you, Ed. Known you a long time, and the highlight of my life with you was when me, your brother, and you went to Woodstock back in 1969. Yeah, it was a good time.
That was 8 months after the Drury game.
Yeah, okay, 8 months, all right. Gave you time to recuperate.
That's right.
But thank you, and best of luck to you and Pam and the rest of your family, and God bless you.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
Very kind.
hard to transition from that. But
Yeah.
we'll have some time.
We had time.
Pete John is the town attorney for a while.
Yeah.
I think what we're gonna have to do is get a photograph when he doesn't expect it and get it up on the walls here, because his father's up here on the wall. Yeah. Yeah. I also won't have somebody to like
Challenge
wear
accepted.
ties and suits with anymore either. You know, well, you're across the street.
I'm across the street.
He's not going far, and he's not going for a few months. So
You know, just quickly I'll note, as a fellow attorney, Ed and I practiced together when I was a very young prosecutor, trying to do our best in the interest of justice, which isn't just a one-sided deal in the courtroom. It requires parties of 3, sometimes 4, to do that. But when I took this job, you know, my concern was, am I capable of doing it, et cetera, just like anybody else starting another job. But the people that we had here in certain staff positions, many of whom have since retired, I depended on greatly. And Ed was one of those people who said, I've been here a long time, Jay. There's not going to be anything that you can't pick up the phone and call me with. And that has been very true. We've had quite a few interesting things, some novel things that have come up, some things that Ed said, you can look outside for that one because I'm not touching that one. But it's been a sense of comfort for me in the position to have Ed there, to sit in this room and to have him there. I feel like we've left, we've always practiced. You can ask Ed Ford what it was like when Ed began to practice in North Adams District Court. And to this day, Ed the Fourth believes that he won that case on his own legal acumen. It's not. We had to have a conversation with him and tell him that the facts always consider the case. And my most recent conversation with him, not that long ago, a few weeks ago, he still reminds me of that. So you may have the football, but I wish I could remember the case, because Ed Fourth remembers that case. And yeah, so I've just appreciated your counsel, Ed, and thank you. And you know, we'll be discussing a lot as we go through in transition cases and things like that. Thank you.
we'll try to move on to item I. And Jay, do you want to review the fiscal year
Sure.
25 budget development schedule?
So as John alluded to, we are in the famous municipal budget season. We've made an effort this year to sit down and take a look at the master calendar, the runway, all the way up to town meeting. We've had the chair of the finance committee involved. We've had Madam Clerk with her involvement, who keeps us on path and on track to make sure we meet the tenets of the special acts. We appreciate her help with this. I won't belabor it. This lays out our runway all the way up to town meeting. We're trying to shoot for town meeting, keep it consistent so our town meeting members know when we're going to meet. That's the first week of June. And this memo that you have in front of you lays out all of that stuff as well. I believe, Haley, we're going to try to get this up on the webpage too, so people know, when we're meeting. But they'll be posted in the normal course anyway. Not a lot has changed. You know, we have a pretty good process dialed in. Haven't received any feedback to change it. We had some feedback last year that we implemented, and that seemed to go well. So this is just an idea for everybody to please save your dates. This is an integral process to the town. It is lengthy, it's cumbersome, but it is the process that we have. So that is the plan for the fiscal 25 budget, with a targeted town meeting date of the first week of June.
My request to the board is to review the dates. Some of the meetings are off our regular meeting schedule. If you see something that's here and you're not able to participate in either a workshop or the meeting, if you could please let Jay and Bree know sooner rather than later. We'll have to check to make sure that we have a quorum in order to meet, especially for the meetings.
It's really just the workshops. Any of the board presentation, we tried to keep it at a regularly scheduled meeting so that people know we're discussing it, and so that we have televised coverage of it. We've tried to avoid, special meetings, but the workshops are separate.
Yep. So if you could share that, that would be great. Thank you. Hopefully you can mark your calendars.
And we already have, last year we had some scheduling conflicts with Superintendent Dean and Superintendent Brosnan. I've already reached out to them. They've already committed to their workshop date. So we're good to go to have the schools.
Thank you for that. Good work. All right. So that brings us to subcommittee and liaison reports. Rick.
I have nothing.
Joe.
Yes, the Woodlands Partnership, at our Budget and Finance, meeting. It was a good exchange. In the very near future, we have, appointment to meet with, Secretary Hoffer and Undersecretary Cooper, looking for, some guidance and some help, perhaps financially. I think we blend well with them, so we'll see what happens. And that's all I have.
Thank you. And I don't have anything. Announcements and go to the order. Rick.
I have nothing.
Joe.
Announcements, yeah, I have some.
Okay.
Okay, first of all, I'm gonna do my spiel again for road salt. And there's a great article in the Mass Municipal Association, the January 24th, the Beacon. It's on page 31 and it's a video. And it's On the Road with Salt. It features Public Works Director Robert Brutus Cataraghi and Carlos Rebello, the Franklin Town's Highway and Ground Superintendents, describing their efforts to balance safety while protecting the water supply and local environment. And I'm out, and I know safety is the key, but I'm out in the middle of the night. I go out and I keep up with as the snow comes down, and I just see, I don't know, a lot of salt being used, and a lot of our catch basins we don't even have. We have direct flow right into the rivers, and I would ask Jay if he could maybe have the crew at least look at this. It's a very informative. It's only 7 minutes long. Makes a lot of sense, and I think that there's a balance that could be made, which is better instead of just loading the roads with salt. So that's my first thing. And then second, I was asked by Fred Ballawander to stop by the Adams ambulance. So I've known Fred. I stopped by and I talked to the two gentlemen that are now running it. And I had a good conversation with them, and they had mentioned, Jay, you had spoken to them also. So I just encourage them to, keep on keeping on and see what they can do. I still think there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. And so, and while I'm on that topic, have we had any feedback from people here in town about the job that Northern Berkshire EMT is doing for us?
So no feedback from any community members, which is usually a positive
Yeah.
sign. I've checked with Chief Meany a couple times to make sure everything's okay. The logistics are working out fine. Town of Cheshire is pleased. They're monitoring, as are we, the response time. Cheshire has no issues, and in fact, the response time has actually been better for Cheshire. Don't hold me to this because it's off the top of my head, but I believe the first week of January, first week of operation, they had about 30-something calls here in Adams, and they only needed mutual aid once to do that from Adams Ambulance. So by all data measurements, they're doing well.
Very
We
good.
haven't had any problems.
And I also,
Chief, thank you.
okay, yeah.
Really quick, I think it just speaks to the job that they're doing. Just a couple of days ago, there was a really unfortunate incident here in town. And Northern Berkshire EMS put on a debriefing and a critical incident, breakdown to bring everybody involved to talk about this incident, because it involved an infant. 3 of my officers went that was there, and it was very positive. And that is something that, mental health and all that, they were right on it the next day. And so I had 3 of my officers attend, and it was fantastic. So, they're just, they're certainly moving in the right direction, and already have plans in place, because you should be doing that with any critical incident like that. Immediately after you debrief, you see if anyone needs any mental health. I just wanted to speak up and say that. Excellent.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Chief.
And also, I like to stop by places, and I particularly like to go to this one. I went to LC Square I just really can't believe what's going on there. And Art wasn't there, but the lead grower said that they're doing very well. And I'm hoping them continued success. I was wondering about the July 10th floods, how we stand with insurance, how that's been playing out for people that put in for insurance claims.
So anyone who's put in for an insurance claim communicates directly with the insurance company,
Okay.
and they make those assessments.
Okay.
Town does not. I believe at this point, every constituent that reached out was contacted by the insurance company one way or another. And I'll just also add to that, the July 10th storm revealed a severe defect in how storms can be reimbursed by the federal government. It is a very high threshold. And as a result, there's pending legislation in the State House right now where the state may actually create a state level disaster fund. So communities such as Adams that this isn't the first localized storm we had. Forgive me the year, but it was probably 2014-15 range where we had all that severe damage to a lot of our flood control, which resulted in the 2.5 million bond and some of the projects. That wouldn't happen again. That money would be available at the state level. So that's legislation to watch because that could really make a difference for us down the road with that.
Yeah, and it's just too bad that we didn't get the permission to open up that culvert because the carrying capacity now is immense. The only thing that we're having problems with, I notice, is there's a lot of siltation that's, reaching the catch where they call it the California swirl, where the thing is where it slows down the hydraulic head, and that's filling up. And that's the main problem with that Hoosick River. I mean, we're losing a lot of carrying capacity because there's islands all along it, and so volume of water, it's lessening the ability to carry more water because there's a lot of land now within the scope of that. And
just one thing, Joe, about
Yeah.
July 10th too. We would have loved to have been able to have, that culvert opened up earlier. But I can tell you that I feel the July 10th storm, the blessing in disguise is I think that resulted in FEMA relenting and letting us doing it. And that's really a success story that we were able to do it.
It's an announcement.
this announcement
Thank
and go to the board.
The board is not debating.
We're not debating.
Thank you for your comment.
Okay, and lastly, I was wondering about Kelly, how our tax has been coming in.
As consistent as always. The
So-
last time I checked, high 90th percentile.
Great.
Yep.
Okay.
Probably 98% would be my guess. Haley, do you think that was the last time I think we heard anything around there? It's always around that time. Our people pay their taxes religiously.
Yeah.
We're grateful.
That's good. And I guess that's all that I have.
Howard, did you have anything? We're on announcements. We skipped over maybe. Sorry. All right, I'm also good. So the next item on our agenda is the executive session. So per Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, for reason number 2, we'll be going into executive session to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. And it is for Police Chief K. Scott Kelly's contract. When we do come out of executive session, we'll go into open session if the board so chooses to approve the contract after reviewing it. I do need a motion and for the reason to be stated as to why we're going into executive session.
Make a motion the board enter executive session for reason number 2 to conduct strategy session in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
And any discussion? It is a roll call vote. Rick?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Howard?
Yes.
Christine's a yes. John?
Yes.